Hi, my name is Carol Chow Herring. I am a clinical supervisor with the student intervention team at the San Francisco Unified School District. The student intervention team, or the SIT team, is 3 clinical supervisors, and we work to place graduate level mental health interns at different school sites across the district. I think there's over 100 schools at San Francisco Unified, from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. And our mission is to positively impact pro-social behavior, student attendance, and academic success by increasing access to quality school-based mental health services. Um, we really believe in supervision and support. We have a pretty interesting model where you're placed on site and you have a site supervisor who is sometimes your clinical supervisor. Um, and then you also get 2 hours of group supervision. So at your internship, you would get 1 hour of clinical supervision a week, either with one of us on the SIT team or with your site clinical supervisor, or group supervision. So the typical duties of a trainee are going to vary depending on what site you're placed at, whether you're at an elementary school, middle school, or high school. The mental health supports look different at each of those schools. Um, but some of the other duties that you can expect are attending meetings that are student focused meetings. So with other collateral contacts that support the students. You might support triage at the wellness center, where students are coming in and asking to speak with someone, and you might be noticing what do they need in the moment, and then helping route them to the support that they need. You might be connecting with families and teachers, doing classroom observations, or uh, meeting with teachers to provide them ideas to support students in classrooms. So you'd be working with your site supervisor on what your additional duties would be in supporting the whole student, in addition to your clinical work. So the client assessment and referral process is that the site supervisor would receive the referral from either an adult in the school, a parent or family member, or even a friend or the student themselves, and then assess the client to see if they're interested in support, and then refer them to the intern. The intern would then do the client assessment along with their clinical supervisor and their site supervisor supporting them, to see what is the best interventions for the student. That really depends on the number of days in the site. So a typical caseload could be maybe 5 clients per day that you're on the site. Um, it At the higher grade levels, it might be a 50-minute hour. At the lower grade levels, it might be more of a 30-minute session. And so it would depend on how much time you had while you were there. There's certainly enough students who need support that your case load would be pretty full if you're open to that. Um, and sometimes people also run groups. The other unique aspect of the program is that you can earn your PPSC if you're also taking classwork to do that. And that means that you get placed at a different grade level. So you could be at a high school and then also get placed at an elementary school, or at an elementary school and also placed at a middle school. And so you would really get to see sort of student life across the lifespan of a student, and the interventions, how they're similar, but also how they're different across the lifespan. So I think I shared earlier that the way supervision is structured at our site is some of our site supervisors are also licensed already. So they, in those situations, they would also be your clinical supervisor. So you would be getting both sort of like the site referrals and the clinical supervision from the same person on site. And then you would also be getting 2 hours of group supervision from one of the SIT clinical supervisors, which would be off-site with other interns who are at other schools, and at other grade levels, so that you again can learn about the student development across like the development, K through 12. Um, if your site supervisor is not licensed, then you would get a clinical supervisor from one of the SIT clinical supervisors. And so then you would have your site supervisor who would give you sort of an orientation to the site, the referrals, supporting you in connecting with your students, supporting you in crisis in the moment, and then your clinical supervisor who would be one of the SIT clinical supervisors who would support your clinical development and 2 hours of group supervision. I would say that there's a lot of on the job training through the site and the site supervisor. So being at school sites, observing and shadowing your site supervisor and sitting in on meetings, that's one of the really deep ways that learning happens. We also, during our group supervisions, do a didactic portion where we talk about ethical issues, treatment planning, clinical assessment, and then share resources based on the client consultation that comes up. We also have formal trainings. We do two institutes, one in the fall and one in the spring, where we go over issues that will come up for every intern, such as building rapport and ethical considerations and the special laws that affect the confidential information at a school site, and how that is sometimes at odds with the confidential information of the health information of a client. And then in the spring, we talk about termination and things like that. We also have many trainings that get scheduled, such as suicide prevention and trauma informed work. And those can either be a mix of in person or over Zoom now, because we're in the Zoom age. Um, and then also, we collaborate with other groups at the district who are also providing training. So the Department of Public Health provides certain trainings and that are very clinically focused through the RAMS program. Foster Youth Services program provides trainings. And then, because everyone who works at SFUSD is considered to be working with foster youth, we also have access to all of the Seneca trainings for free, that you could attend. In my experience, the attributes that contribute most to trainee success are a willingness to learn, an openness to observe and ask questions, and be willing to be involved in the school culture. I think working at a school site is a really different experience than being at an agency or in private practice, because you're part of the student's life in a different way. And so there are some really interesting ethical issues that come up that we support you around, but then there's also a lot of collateral contacts that you can engage in and support with, that I think really show how there's a whole system around the client, and that the mental health is one piece, or the mental health provider is one person, one role, and working with the other members of the team that are around the student is really what can help support the student's well-being. Trainees have found most challenging is sort of also what is the most interesting opportunity for growth, which is working on site somewhere where you're working with a lot of people who are coming from different backgrounds with different um, roles and responsibilities in the student's life. And so there's a lot of collaboration that happens. And so, really carving out what your role is and how, the work that you're doing is supporting the overall success of the student at the school, while maintaining sort of that mental health focus, and then also helping to educate others around, how to support the mental health of a student. It's a really wonderful internship. I myself was a sit intern and then was hired by the district. And I think it really gave a great grounding, um, for how to work with all the different age levels, but also how to work with the system of the school. And even if you eventually go into private practice or family therapy or, working with adults, understanding how school-based work and what life is like for students at a school, I think really is so beneficial, for in supporting, um, your clients, no matter where you end up working in the future.